Turn your mic on.
Call to order the City of Riverbank Planning Commission meeting, Tuesday, September 18th, 2018. The time is 6:52 p.m. Have a roll call, please.
Chair Dynan,
Here.
Vice Chair Ball,
Here.
Commissioner Stewart,
Here.
Commissioner Hughes is absent, and Commissioner Fenrich,
Here.
and our alternate Commissioner Link.
Here.
Thank you, Janet. Conflict of interest. Any planning commission member or staff who has a direct conflict of interest on any scheduled agenda item to be considered is to declare their conflict at this time. Hearing none. Public comments. No action can be taken. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission Board. Individual comments will be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes per person, and each person may speak once during this time. Time cannot be yielded to another person. Under state law, matters presented during the public comment period cannot be discussed or acted upon. For record purposes, please state your name and city of residence, and please make your comments directly to the Planning Commission Board. Do we have any public comments? Hearing none. We'll move to the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are to be acted upon by a single action of the Planning Commission Board unless otherwise requested by an individual Planning Commission member for special consideration. Otherwise, the recommendation of staff will be accepted and acted upon by roll call vote. Do any commissioners want to pull one of these items from the consent calendar? Hearing none. Item 2.1, posting of the agenda. The agenda for the September 18th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting was posted on the City Community Center Bulletin Board, City Hall North and South Bulletin Boards, Post Office, City website, and emailed to the library on September 6th, 2018. Item 2.2, approval of the agenda. This provides an opportunity for the Planning Commission or staff to recommend that an item be placed on the agenda for discussion or to adjust the proposed agenda to allow an item to be taken out of order. Item 2.3, approval of the minutes of the June 19th, 2018 and July 17th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting, having been read by the individual commissioners and stands approved as submitted. Do we need to take a vote on this item specifically? Or can we just do it on the full consent calendar?
It could be all lumped together.
Okay, thank you. Item 2.4, tentative subdivision map,
Be separate though.
extension 01-2018, Ward Villas, Ward Avenue and Palmer Avenue, APN 132-036-003. Request for a one-year extension on approved tentative subdivision map 01-2015 to subdivide 2.42 acres into 28 planned development, single-family, medium-density residential lots.
I need to turn mine on too. I think it would be better to do those two separately. So maybe combine the first three and then the fourth one separately.
Okay? Get a motion to approve items 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3?
So moved.
Second?
I second.
Roll call, Janet? Or vote?
Chair Dynan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Ball,
Yes.
Commissioner Fenrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart,
Yes.
and Commissioner Link.
Yes.
And that is approved 5-0.
Thank you. Donna, do you want to address the item 2.4?
No, I don't have a report, but we just wanted a separate vote on this.
Okay.
Thank you. I just misunderstood your question earlier.
Move for approval of item 2.4.
Can I ask a question?
Well, why don't we get a second on it first? before we discuss it. Can we get a second on Joan's motion? I'll second it. Go ahead, Robert.
I was just going to ask staff's position on this item.
Staff does support the extension of this map for an additional year.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Take a vote. Janet?
Chair Dinan,
Yes?
Commissioner Stewart, I'm sorry, Vice Chair Ball,
Yes.
Commissioner Fenridge,
Yes.
and Commissioner Link.
Yes.
One out of order.
Public hearing presentation, items 3. Item 3.1, Architecture and Site Plan Review 2018-001, Parent 18-0005, closed parent, dash Mark Hart, applicant, St. Francis of Rome, owner, 2818 Topeka Street, APN 132-024-005. Request for an architectural and site plan review of a single-story office building with setback exception of Rome Church. Architectural and site plan review is required for properties redeveloping for a new use in the downtown specific plan. The proposed architecture and site plan review is subject to approval by the Planning Commission pursuant to Section 153-095, Parent G, closed parent of the City of Riverbank Code of Ordinances. And the recommendation from the Planning Commission or from the staff is approval of this item. Donna, do you have a presentation?
I do, thank you. Looks like we're pulling it up right now. Or not. Okay, I'll go ahead and start here. Okay, as stated, this is the architectural and site plan review of a proposed office building of approximately, thank you, of approximately 2,000 square feet for St. Francis of Rome, the church site, with landscaping and parking lot improvements. The project location, as you can see, 108 as it curves around, that's where the church is. The actual location of the church, the existing, the way it's set up right now. And then this is the site plan of the parcel for the actual new office building itself. Let me go back just a second here. So where you see the box with the text in the upper right hand and it's pointing to a parcel, that's the parcel that the office building is proposed for. So you can see there's a parking lot between it and Callender Avenue. So the building is set back in the upper right corner there of the parcel with associated parking and a safe path of travel to the site, the public sidewalk. That would also include a bike parking area there. This is what the front elevation of the building would look like. Again, it's 2,000 square feet and it is single story. The rear elevation would be to the east of the property towards an existing residence there. So you would not be able to see this from Callender or probably Topeka. These are the side elevations. The south elevation would be toward the existing multifamily residences to the south, but there would be a wall, a good neighbor fence between the two. The floor plan of the office is pretty simple. Just has restrooms and then associated office spaces there. We did include conceptual landscaping, so you can see what the church has in mind for this. But a condition of approval for the project is that they submit the landscaping and the irrigation, and we have a third party that does that review to make sure it's water drought tolerant and low water landscaping. Let me go back here for a second. I want to talk for a second about the exception. The downtown specific plan does allow staff to make decisions on small changes to projects within the downtown specific plan. As you can see, the front of the building kind of faces down where you see the ADA parking. So to accommodate that parking and to accommodate landscaping and the sidewalk, the building is set back about 26 feet from the property line. Interestingly, in our downtown specific plan, it calls out a front setback of between 4 feet and 20 feet. I personally, as a planner, have not seen a maximum setback used like that before. But it is in the plan, and in order to make this project work, they do need an exception to that, and staff feels that that is justified. Now, the issue with this project, and that we struggled with, has been the parking. As we know, the church does have a large attendance, and they do take up a lot of parking both in the lots and on the city streets. The location of the building in that existing parking lot does cause them to lose about 17 parking spaces. Now, they did submit a parking scheme, and what the scheme is basically saying is that when there is attendance at Mass and all these parking spaces are full, the office building on the weekends would be empty. Likewise, during the week, there would be people in the office building, but there would be nobody at Mass. So the actual building itself, the use, shouldn't have an impact on the parking. The building itself, like I said, does replace 17 parking spaces, so that does have an impact. The downtown specific plan, though, allows us to count parking spaces on public streets as long as it's within 800 feet of the building, so a walkable distance. There is street parking both on Topeka and Santa Fe on both sides of Callender. The city is working with the Caltrans right now to redo Callender there, and include a crosswalk that would make crossing so much safer. That is out a ways, the plan and the funding for that project, but it is in the works. And it's also important to note that they are providing for some bicycle parking, and they are within walking distance of buses. So, the Planning Commission can take all of that into consideration when considering the parking. This project does meet several of our design guidelines in the general plan as far as reducing the visual impact of the parking lot by adding landscaping, the use of high-quality building materials, the pedestrian and bicycle access that we just talked about concerning parking. There are ground floor facade treatments to make it a really nice visually attractive project. And did point out the bicycle rack location. As far as CEQA goes, the analysis, this project will not have a significant effect on the environment. It is a paved parking lot right now, so there are no biological impacts as far as it will not affect plants or any wildlife of any type. And I would be happy to answer any questions. We do have the architect here tonight that would be happy to answer any questions as well. I don't know if you'd like to do any sort of presentation or you're just available for the questions. If you'd like to, sure. You're the.
Thank you.
This is Mark Hart, the architect.
Donna, for the presentation. Unfortunately, one of the items that you pointed out as the floor plan was in fact a foundation plan, but it's not a big deal. And I was just wondering where the kind of material board went. Is that not part of the meeting, or so they could at least see the colors?
I believe I left it across the street. I apologize.
Anyway, I don't think that was going to be a factor. So generally, I'm just here to answer any questions or address any concerns on the project.
Well, I think we would first want to have a public hearing before any of the board members ask you some questions. I'm sure we'll have some. So is there anyone from the public that wants to comment on this issue? And again, please state your name and city of residence.
Scott McRitchie, City of Riverbank. Since I didn't get a chance at the other meeting, I beat up on you here. I'm concerned when you said small changes can be made. And here's the deal. We did the housing authority across the street, around over here. And what happened there is we wanted to remodel the office. So we submitted plans, everything was okay. They built it, there were no changes, it was beautiful. The problem was that we had two people in a small room with no air conditioning waiting for that to be done. So the building got built without any confusion at all. But then there was a series of, the grass is a half an inch shorter than the pavement, there's this, there's that. Instead of putting them all in one bunch and saying, hey, here's the problems, it went on and on and on and on. So every time we had to call this kind of guy and say, hey, there's a change. He's the architect, he has to doodle his doodlings and give it to the person who's going to build it. Well, it kept doing this, and we kept mounting the costs and delaying us until we got into July, August. This thing was supposed to be done in March, and those women fried back there with no air conditioning and so on. So when you say small changes, that just raised caution to me that if they're going to do this thing, let's get all this stuff. Now, I know sometimes something creeps up, but that miserable thing over at the housing authority, every week something came out until finally I said, hey, you send whoever you want over here, a whole crew, find out what's wrong and submit it once, and that's it. We're not doing any more. So I want that to be considered as we do this thing, that there's always things that come up, and I appreciate that. But when you find one every week and it just continues on when they're minor stuff, that was very irritating. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments on this issue? Hearing none. Are there any questions from the commission? Steve?
Can you close the public hearing?
Thank you. Public hearing is closed. Steve?
No, I have no questions.
No.
None.
Robert?
What's the approximate timeline to completing the building?
The goal right now is to submit for a building permit, right around the end of the year, so that in spring we can begin construction and have it perhaps completed, I would say 18 months, typical time frame. It's about the size of a house, so, residents would be about roughly 18 months, depending on how fast things can actually move along.
If I might share with you, when they bring the plans to us for Planning Commission, they're more conceptual in nature. Once a developer gets an approval on a project, then they have to start looking at, the infrastructure plans, the electricity, the sewer, the water, the storm drainage, and so it does take a while then to get all those technical layers worked out before they could actually start moving forward. So there is a significant gap between an approval and when they actually break ground.
Any questions, Mallory?
I guess I kind of have mixed feelings on increasing the setback, but I can understand if it was to deal with parking, I'm okay with that. I'm just looking at the elevation. I just have questions. Inside those bays, are those big floor length windows, or is that just a detail on the wall? Or are there, I'm just, I guess
The
I'm getting at, are there
graphic didn't come
windows?
out too well. I think if what you're looking at was the same as on the screen, and I was kind of hoping that material board would be here because it really explains. So you're referring to the windows on the front, and
Yeah.
they're essentially a storefront.
Okay.
So it's going
Yeah.
to be a clear anodized aluminum frame with low E glass, this storefront style.
Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to confirm that they were windows. And
Yeah.
I have a question first for staff. Reading the downtown specific plan in the cannery section, if I read it correctly, it said new buildings, structures would have to have frontage on the street, not on a parking area. Page 120.
This isn't technically part of the cannery district. It is to the west of what's outlined as the cannery district.
My reading was the cannery district went all the way to Calendar.
Well, I'll need to follow up on that. That doesn't ring a bell with me.
Well, that's a concern. And I don't know why that was part of the specific plan, that the frontage would have to be on the street rather than a parking area, but that's a concern.
Yeah, I think mostly in the downtown area, we like to have the buildings up next to the street with the parking behind it. In this case, it makes sense to have the building face Calendar because the parking lot in front of it's not new, it's existing, and it's always going to be needed for the church. So we won't see any changes to that parking lot at all. So for aesthetics, it made sense for the building to face that direction.
And I have another question, and depend on staff to correct me if I shouldn't be asking this. Is the relationship between the developer and the church, is this a commercial office structure that's going to have offices rented out?
No, this is,
Okay, so as the area is growing, we all know, so are the needs of the parish. And the hall that was completed, I believe in about 2001, they have different uses in there, and among them being office space. And they're needing to just get out of that building and find another location where they can have offices for bookkeeping, reception, and so on and so forth. So this will be strictly a structure office, commercial office, but it's for the church. There's nobody else is going to be using it. It's for their staff.
Thank you. The only issue I have is what I brought up about the specific plan and the fact that it may not be in compliance with that. But if the commission wants to take a vote on it, or we could table it till the next commission meeting next month.
If there's a cloud, perhaps we should table it until the next meeting. What do you think?
You want to make a motion on that, John?
Okay, I move that item 3.1 be addressed at the planning commission meeting next month.
I'll second it.
Who's the first on that? Joan. Chair Dinan,
Yes.
Vice Chair Wall,
No.
Commissioner Stewart,
Yes.
Commissioner Link,
Yes.
and Commissioner Fenrich.
No.
So that's 2, 3. Okay.
so the vote's 3-2, so the item would be continued to the next planning commission meeting.
How long do you think it's going to take to do the research on that?
Oh, 10 minutes?
Just to clarify, though, I think there's there's an exception that's being requested as part of this, the variance. So the commission has the authority to approve a variance regardless if the setback requires street, like right on the street, or more than 20 feet. So the commission has the authority either way, but I understand the question is to understand what the current requirements are.
Okay, planning commission comments. Any comments from the planning commissioners? County referral correspondence information. None that I'm aware of. Staff comments.
It's been a long day. I'm trying to remember what happened the last two meetings. Let's see.
You can
No,
update the
just
city
a state rep.
council.
Just an update on the
Yeah, just
meetings
those
and
two
then
dates, yeah.
that was canceled.
I know, I'm just trying to remember what happened on the meeting of the 11th. If I remember correctly from these two city council meetings, it involved the approval, the second reading of the skate ramp ordinance. So that became law in, let's see, September 11th, so it'd be October 11th. It became a legal ordinance. And then the second item there, the Planning Commission workshop, it's normally held in April, and we had some problems with getting the speakers, and so then it was changed to September. But then when we went to hold it in September, everybody and their brother had a soccer game for a child or a grandchild, and so the attendance just happened to be very low on that weekend, and so we're going to try again in the spring. We had some really good speakers lined up to talk about recent and upcoming housing regulations, and so we hope to bring that back in April to you.
They also, the city council did the second reading on the signage.
Yes, that was it. Thank you. The downtown signage that you recommended. They had two readings on that, and it was approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. If there's no further business, meeting is adjourned.
That's been a long day. That's been a long day. I just kept thinking about what Scott said about the little things that kept cropping up. He was trying to do that, and I thought,
About motions.
this is not enough because we've got people in the city that read every single thing. And if it does say that in that downtown specific plan, and it can't be planned. That's right, that's right. So I just have to delay it for a month and we'll try to get it cleaned up. Actually, we could
Oh, good idea.
yeah, good luck on your trip tomorrow morning.
Oh, that's right. Oh.
It seems like they could just building out of the back of the base. No, see you guys next
See you next time.
Hey, Robert.
It's supposed to be like right on the street with just a little bit of parking. And I remember I went all that down. You may be right. I'll have to go home and read
Like I said, page 120.
it.
I bored it in my brain.
The cannery,
The cannery
the
section.
Bye, everybody. See you next
Oh,
time. See you next time.
See, we got parking in front, near the building in Topeka. So if you put the building where maybe it's supposed to be, right next to Topeka, and then you have parking behind it, you can't see what's going on back
You
there.
have a house and you had multifamily and then you have construction.
Well, it's just, there's been some break-ins over a while, and